Okay, so here we are going to go ahead and do a little bit of personalization and export out these files. So here is a short PO for an existing event. I need to place these in order. So let me do that very quickly.
So you've already done the concatenation on these files.
Correct. So now I'm just going to arrange them by vendor SKU, so they're all grouped together. Okay, so here's the concatenation field right there.
Yep.
I'm going to start at the top, and the very first item here is HP underscore 00100. It's a 16 by 20, and we want to add the Van Buren family, which you can see is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this field, and I'm going to toggle over to Finder, and find the file, which is right here, HP 00100. And we're going to go ahead and open that AI file.
So right here, you want to open everything in working RGB, or what do you do here?
My working RGB is sRGB. That's fine. I'm surprised that this does not have an embedded profile. Actually, that's actually a mistake. It should have an embedded profile, but we'll assign sRGB, which is my working. Okay, and here is the file.
Now, the first thing.
What are all these squares outside the area here?
So those are not really relevant to delivering on the file, but when we start a new collection, we agree kind of on a color palette so that each of the designs inside a particular collection look harmonious. So that's what we kind of use to just guide ourselves as we're making designs.
Okay, well, that'll impact how we export this file, and I'll talk about that when we do that.
And one thing, Alex, I think is worth mentioning right now, this file opened correctly for you without significant other warnings because you happen to have this font already installed on your machine. So for anybody helping us do personalization at this point in time, if there's a font used like this swirly sort of Christmassy looking one you can all see here, you'd navigate out to the font folder, which we provide to you to download and install the fonts to deliver on a particular personalization effort.
Correct. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select the name layer, and I'm going to go ahead and click on it. It looks like the Christmas countdown is also on that layer, huh?
It's part of the design, that's right.
We're going to just, in this case, we're just going to pick the name because that's all we're going to change. And I'm going to paste that entire long string that I copied from Excel. However, I'm going to grab from there and delete, leaving simply the Van Buren family.
Yep.
We obviously need to resize it, which might be a problem because Christmas Countdown is on that same layer.
This is a good example of the kinds of sort of small things you'll sometimes encounter when moving from a designer's original file to actually customizing the file and getting it ready for print. So I'm kind of glad that we're seeing this scenario.
Yeah, so right off the top of my head, I mean, we have some problems here because as soon as I resize this to fit in this area, this Christmas countdown is going to be a lot smaller. So this technically needs to be its own text layer.
What I would do is just highlight the top line and just change the font size on the top line, but not the bottom line. So go ahead and drag your mouse across the Van Buren family and go up to your font size, which currently says 90 pixels.
Yeah.
And up at the top of Illustrator. There you go. And you might also notice that the F is not uppercase like it should be. So at this point in time, you're not only looking to put the correct name in there, but to do a little bit of mild error checking if necessary, like fixing that F.
So yeah, that's a good point. So I think it's really important to mention that when you're doing personalization, you want to always copy and paste the data that's in the spreadsheet. You don't want to look at it and then type it in because it introduces the potential for error. You always want to copy and paste it. In this case, we can see that we could probably do better by capitalizing the F. They happen to not capitalize it when they typed it into the text or the web form. we're just going to fix that for them.
Okay.
But you want to always copy paste.
Yep.
I'm going to just make sure that that 65-point font isn't, it is a little bit bigger than the Christmas, so that's fine. We'll leave it as that. At this point, I have the export function, which is file export set to Command E. If you don't already have that set as a keyboard shortcut, I recommend you do.
Now, one thing I might also like to mention while you're here, Alex, a lot of times we see designs, we shouldn't assume that every single design is absolutely perfect. For example, where you have the Van Buren family Christmas countdown, I've seen designs where the text was not center justified. It was maybe left or right justified and then sort of placed into that area. So this is a good time to correct the original files too if you see errors like that. Center justify it, move the copy right into the center between objects where it was meant to be if you see those errors.
Actually, that brings up a really good point and something we should have talked about. I'm going to actually escape out of here and go back to this for a second. So if I select this text layer, we can see that it is in fact center justified, which is great. But one thing I like to do is I like to set the auto kerning to optical.
Great.
It seems to work by default a lot better than auto. And you may still find that occasionally you have to adjust kerning, but I think if you work from optical, it will eliminate almost any and all kerning situations. So we're going to go ahead and export now. The export window comes up. By default, when you have a new Illustrator file open, it wants to select PNG as the format. We prefer JPEG, so change that to JPEG. If you hit your left arrow, it will deselect the Save As title field. You put it to the far left, simply paste the string of data that we got from Excel, add a underscore, and in this case we have to select Use Artboard because there is information outside the artboard that will save alongside the file if we don't click this. So be sure that Use Artboard is selected.
We want to click that by default every time, basically, right?
Well, only if you know that your AI files are super clean and don't have anything outside, like outside the artboard, then you don't have to click it. But if you're unsure or if you know for a fact that there are items outside the artboard, then yes, you have to click it.
So I think it's interesting that you're printing from a JPEG here, so you're not printing direct from the AI file. For people watching this video, can you explain why we're doing this?
Because a JPEG, well, we want to print from a raster image file, not from a vector file.
Okay.
That's just we use RIP software, and it does not allow vector files.
Okay.
So we could export to a TIFF, for example, but that's unnecessary for printing purposes. It would just generate too big a file for no real reason.
Okay.
So from here, we want to set quality to maximum. Resolution, if you set it to medium, it will default to 150 dpi, which is just fine. Hit OK, and we now have a JPEG. What I should point out is that if you don't select a different destination, it will put it into the source folder, wherever the AI file is, which in this case is right here. I should have pointed that out, actually. You may want to select a different destination or a working folder. Otherwise, you'll have to collect all your JPEGs when you're done from here and copy them back out.
Yeah, so you've inadvertently dumped that personalized JPEG into the master bird row collection. So now you want to go back and go ahead and save it and show us where you'd like to save these.
So there's two ways to do it, and I think for the purposes of saving time and mouse clicks, it's faster if you simply export to the same folder that your AI file lives in. But what I would do is I would copy your working files. I would copy this AI file into a working file. Oh, I'm sorry, into a working folder.
Yep.
And then that way, when you're exporting from Illustrator, you don't have to select a destination every single time because it adds a mouse click. You have to come into here and go to Dropbox and go to
your bird row sales
data,
yep.
Sales, Zulily, sorry, PO1 images. This is something we haven't talked about yet, by the way. And then put it in here. So what I would do instead is I would create a working directory where your AI file is, and simply do all of your exports into that folder. And when you're done, grab your JPEGs and then move them into your, wherever your working folder is, which in this case is that PO1 images folder.
Yeah.
And I think you need to create a video that demonstrates where that is and why.
Okay. All right. So you've saved a file. Anything else in this video you want to show us before we move to the next video?
No, I hope that isn't too confusing, but it's really that simple. You just need to make sure that your text fits into the designated area, and that you are exporting it properly, that you are selecting the artwork or the artboard, and that you are pasting in that text string from the Excel document.
Okay, great. I'll go ahead and wind this video down, and we'll move on to the next one.